Really shitty start to the season for both these teams. Congrats to the Dolphins for ending their losing streak. So many different storylines you could take film. Most of the big stories have been covered by commentators, the announcers, bunch of heads already. First thing in my mind that I want to see are the penalties. Penalty number 1, illegal block above the waist, kickoff return by Mark Robinson, who is a linebacker for us. Should be number 45. Should be this, I think. What were you thinking, bro? Like, you can't even see the mug's face. All you gotta do was just like get in his way at that point. Oh my god. That's some dumb shit, bro. I know on special teams, you gotta have the mentality of a crazy person, a maverick, a lunatic. I play a lot of special teams myself, but that don't mean you gotta be stupid. So illegal use of hands between these two. Now, to be clear, illegal use of hands is when you use your hands to block improperly. This includes thrusting hands above their shoulder frame, making forcible contact to the head or neck area. Now, this you can pretend to do on accident as a D-line, but if you super blatant, like ripping a person's helmet off, of course they're going to call it, right? So keep an eye on those two. Going half speed, cinematic mode. Membu basically has him stonewalled and rips the helmet off. So naturally, Membu's looking around for where's the flag at, right? This exact thing happened 2 more times by my observation in the game. It only got called this time. Why? It's a 5-yard penalty. Why is it only called this first time and the other times they let it pass? That is not the definition of consistency. Do the flag. Okay, thank you, sir, for finally throwing the flag. Much appreciated. This dude has a lot to look at. It's pretty obvious when your helmet's laying on the floor like that. Okay, so this should be a Dolphins holding call. You see these linemen going this way from the linebacker. Looks like there's some down or zone blocks that way, and you got this guy pulling. This makes me feel like the run's going to be somewhere here-ish, if I'm the linebacker. Looks like that's what they're sensing as well. Good positioning by our linebackers, because you got to work in tandem. You got to work as a unit. So who's in immediate position? Typically they'd want to go downhill, and then the other guy kind of flows over and is like the backup, and or watch the cutback lane, and or they're hanging to watch multiple angles that the running back can bounce it. Jamian gets his block here. Malgo is in the hanging spot, which means he would need to diagnose which way the running back is going to go. Is it this way or is it this way? Does he need to back up Sherwood here, or does he need to take this away? He obviously needs to take this away, because the running back gets the ball, sees a clear cutback lane this way. However, this seems to be pretty good block here. Malgo is trying to shed it. The blocker lost his good positioning. Malgo is able to kind of like get out of that block to try to make the play. However, he's obviously getting held. Like, clearly, this is a good call by the refs. It was a pretty stupid holding by this guy. It was like a semi-unnecessary hold. It was necessary because his guy was the immediate guy in position to make the play. But with how far the running back cut back, it was almost like Malgo might not have even made the play in the first place. So I just want to look at the false start on our guy right here. But okay, so that was a false start on Mason Taylor. I didn't really see a false start. Hold on, maybe I'm bugging. Maybe they called on the wrong guy. Okay, so I guess they call that a false start. Oh man. So officials can still call that a false start because the movement, it being forward, it simulates the start of the play. If you can't see it, look again. See? Now, there are plenty of times in high school or something where they might let that go because it really wasn't egregious, but you can't be mad if they call that. So this is a holding on number 79. Boom. That's pretty egregious. That is pretty egregious. This was a cool play by Reed, but it was never supposed to happen because like he would have got the Tua right there at this moment in time, let alone Clemens. Clemens did a lot of good things today, by the way. So this should be a false start on Lazard. Great circle, Eric. You know what I'm talking about. Okay. Let me explain something, right? Keep an eye on Allen. See that little movement right there? That could easily be called a false start. Easily. However, keep watching. No flag thrown. Calls are still being made. The QB, the center, is pointing something out. So here's why this could not be called. If a wide receiver was set and made a small movement while the O-line was still making call-outs, the QB was adjusting things, it's not necessarily a false start. What would make that a false start if we're still doing shit here is if the movement was abrupt, which it wasn't. If the movement was minor and didn't really simulate the snap, then they'll typically allow that. As long as it wasn't sudden or deceptive, you know, like when a wide receiver might like buck to get the cornerback to like jump or flinch, like that's what you can't do. So this level of subtleness while they're still doing shit, I've never seen that called before, but shit, I'm not an NFL ref. Maybe you're supposed to call that. I'm just saying, like, from my understanding of the rules, that's not really supposed to be called. Okay, so this is illegal contact by these people way over here. Okay. Number 11, that's this guy. He makes his cut, totally burned him. Obviously, they're gonna call that. I mean, he was holding so hard, his like leg got whipped around. Like, there's no way they're not calling that. Cool looking tackle, but you know, can't do that. So in this case, we got a defensive pass interference on Sauce. Pretty sure that's him right there. Okay, well, let me see if I could get a close up, because I remember watching the replay and I saw a jersey tug. So you don't see it here, but trust me, if you want your wide receiver and they see a little bit of the jersey get tugged, that looked like I just gave him a tumor. They see a little bit of that shit. You know what I'm doing. You know what this is, right? If they see a little bit of the jersey tug, they're going to be inclined to throw it. However, Sauce's argument is that this was so ticky-tacky and they let people do slight tugs as long as it doesn't interfere with their route and the ball wasn't catchable anyway. That's Sauce's argument. So it's something that they might call or not call depending on their mood, and that's where his frustration is coming from. It seemed like everyone else get like called sometimes, not called sometimes, but for him they call for him every time. I mean, in my opinion, like, just don't even give him a reason. Like, don't even like close your fingers on the jersey. Like, you're allowed to keep your hands on him, but if you show anything being tugged, if the refs already are on red alert to call things on you, then like you kind of just giving them a reason to, even if they didn't really have to. Feel me? So unnecessary roughness on Mauagoa. I don't get why. I don't get it. So he's sliding here. What's Mauagoa doing? Could he be targeting? I mean, if that was me, if I'm Mauagoa, I'm here, great pursuit. Nobody went for him. You know what I'm saying? Everyone just positioned themselves to where if you don't slide, you're gonna get hit. He slid, and Mauagoa was running. Like, he had momentum, so he just kind of like jumps over like that. Okay, so ideally, maybe he could have just like literally jumped over, like hurdled. But I don't think this was like no targeting, especially if you've seen highlights of like sliding QBs getting targeted. So this call was kind of in between, but if you're gonna call it, you're gonna call it, whatever. So here you're gonna have an illegal contact on Isaiah Oliver on him. Now, if you got open hands, you can't make contact with the receiver in the first 5 yards. You can chuck the receiver. You can make continuous contact, disrupt the receiver's route legally. As long as it's not in the back or overly aggressive, you could do that. So where's the 5-yard mark? The ball's like right here. So you can make contact up to about here, 11-yard line. Keep an eye on that. Motion. Contact, keep an eye on them. Contact. Good, contact, good, contact, good. Now you gotta let go. You gotta let go. He lets go. In the replay, you're gonna see he lets go. At this point, you can have your hand on them like lay gently like a feather. Okay, don't close your fist, don't grab nothing, and you can no longer impede their route in any way. Okay, now you just got to be floating around him like a ghost, like you Casper. Okay, so he lets go, hand on him like a feather, not impeding him in any way. And this fucking douchebag throws the flag. I don't get it. I don't get it. Like, that was textbook as a DB, how much contact you could do while it being legal. Like, to me, that was textbook. Yo, maybe he felt like he didn't let go in time. Maybe he felt like he let go at 5.5 yards and not the 5-yard zone. But I don't think this flag should have been thrown, bro. Okay, so the potential Garrett Wilson touchdown. Garrett, hand up right there. If Garrett pushed him off so that he slowed down and Garrett can go ahead and do his thing, that's an offensive PI. And that's what the ref thought he saw. And I think the commentators, whoever was announcing this game, they said the same thing. We went to commercial break. They were watching it in slow motion. And they said now that they watched it back, they didn't think that this should have been counted because it was more so mutual light hand fighting. You see all that? But neither was impeded. Garrett didn't impede his movement and vice versa, so this should have been let go. Additionally, the ref called this out of bounds when it was clearly in bounds, which kind of blows my mind because they have like the best view of what's in bounds or out of bounds. And we could see it on the camera. Like, he closer to the shit than the camera, and we could see it, whether it was in slow motion or regular motion. But they call this an offensive PI, which you could make that mistake. But to also call out of bounds, like, it's going to make Jets fans feel like they did not want him to get this touchdown. Also, it could have been an honest mistake. I really think the offensive PI is just an honest misinterpretation, either by the refs or by our understanding. The out of bounds thing is bogus. I don't get it. So John Simpson, our left guard, this is the unnecessary roughness. Look, you see how 90 pops up? He obviously didn't feel like he was penalized. He just popped up like, hey, that didn't bother me. Because this happens all the time. An O-lineman finishing a block with authority is how they are fucking coached. Here's the issue. The pass already left, and that increases the likelihood that they would call this an unnecessary roughness if you go and land on him. What makes this tough is this is something that happens all the time, and this is how O-line are coached. If you remember a year or two ago, Deion Dawkins kind of pushed Michael Clemens over some loose laundry on the field, making Clemens trip and fall, and then he continues to follow him and then land on him with all his weight. And this was like after the play. That loose laundry on the field was basically the doggy pile of the tackle. So the play was over, and then Deion Dawkins still wanted to land on our DN. That wasn't called. You really don't see this called like that. So I don't get it. However, that is one thing where if the ref wanted to call it, they can call it. So you can't really say anything. You can't really accuse or have any conspiracy theories off that single penalty because they can call it. It's just that you never see them call it, but they just decide to call it in that moment. That's what made it kind of weird to me. Our man Titman. So 90 called us out. They're 90. Timmons' hands move. You could definitely call this. If it's an abrupt movement after you assume your position and the movement simulates the start of the play in any way, that is grounds for this penalty. Small movement in the hands can draw a flag, especially if the hand movement was quick, deliberate. Definitely if it causes a reaction. This has been not called thousands of times, but they can call it. Once again, don't give the refs a reason. I get it, it's so fucking gray area. Just don't give them a reason. And these refs obviously woke up horny today to throw the flag. There should be a holding by Josh Myers, our center. I remember this. So Josh Myers tried to impede the path of the blitzer by sticking his arm out. They can definitely call that a holding. Here's the issue for B. Again, Titman, this is the third or fourth time Titman got illegal hands to the face. Look. And he put his hands up to make it obvious. And what happened was they called the holding and they did not even see Tittman's helmet come off. Even though he's the only person without a hat on the field, they didn't see it. Here's my issue with that. They could say, oh, I didn't see it because I was looking at this penalty, the holding. The illegal use of hands was 2 feet next to it right here. It's not over here or here in a different part of the field. So, well, you don't have no peripheral vision? It's just so obvious, and I feel like this could be a penalty offset situation. Don't quote me on that, I don't freaking know. But if you're a Jets fan and you see this, you feel like they only choosing to see penalties on one side over the other. If you're a Jets fan. Long shot that we're gonna make this work. So where did Rucker throw the ball from? If you look at this white line, so marker, he got rid of the ball, not here, but he kind of threw it like in this area. The ball received, same. So why you call this an illegal forward pass, I don't know. That was really weird. I don't know why they call that an illegal forward pass. It's a lateral. But either way, it wasn't going to work. So you might be thinking, why does it matter? Because the officiating got to be even. Like, it's got to be a fair game. Like, you got to play with the same rules, both sides. Yeah. Oh my God. Can we look at this, man? He's down. And then he wants to land on his head. No flag. This is the type of shit. Like, this ain't no even fucking game because the play's over. You don't need to do that. How you gonna call this on John Simpson finishing a play where he didn't have to finish that hard, you could argue? So if you gonna do that, let's just say you the ref and you say the extra shit that you don't have to do, like at the tail end of the play or after the play, I'm gonna throw that flag. But only against the Jets. Like, why was that John Simpson call but not this? I don't understand. Like, he clearly like, yo, I was already on the ground. He didn't have to land on my fucking head. It's dumb, bro. Like, that was fucking dumb. Additionally, Tua got that flag when he was sliding because Malga didn't want to hop over. He just wanted to fall over Tua. So we got that penalty, right? Okay, cool. If you want to do that, then fine. I want Tua to be protected. I like him. So if you're going to do that, why ain't you gonna call this? So Justin Fields steps outside here. That's fine. He's definitely outside here. Maybe brother's just finishing the tackle. Okay, you can finish the tackle. But this is extra. That fall on the back of the head on the field is how Justin got concussed just 2 weeks ago. So if you gonna call that Tua shit, why don't you call that, is my question. Like, you could go either way on that. Like, it could be, you could consider a gray area, but the fact that you call for one side and not the other just blows my mind. Either way, most of our penalties, the Jets, most of them was our fault. Either we did the shit or we left room for interpretation, like the little false starts and whatnot, to where they can throw the flag. John Simpson finishing the play, like, I'm not gonna rip open a new ass for that. That's something like, okay, that's how they want to call it. We're not gonna do that for the rest of this game. But generally, like, you do that. Everybody does that. But for this game, as soon as I see them throw that flag, okay, so we're not gonna do that anymore today. And that's all it would be for me. But the inconsistent level playing field, some of this other shit is like wild to me. Would that have been the difference? It would have made a pretty big difference. Yeah, like that Garrett Wilson touchdown would have been a touchdown. Who knows how the game would have went after that. If we got that late hit on Rucker near the end, could that have turned out to be something different? Like, if they were consistently calling some of these fouls equally on both sides, could have easily made a 3, maybe 7-point difference. But the bottom line is, over half our penalties were not those ones. It was us giving them a reason to throw the flag if they wanted to. They didn't have to, but if they wanted to, we gave them a reason to. And we can't fucking do that.